Hey guys, Snake and the Goozer here. We're back with episode 2.
It's not called Snake and the Goozer.
Back with Snake and the Goozer, episode
Uh,
2.
So hopefully we've reduced some of the clicking issues that everyone was talking about last time.
Yeah.
And thanks for all the positive feedback, everybody. It's been pretty great. I think we're almost at like 300 subscribers
Yeah,
off of one video.
I'm surprised everyone actually liked it.
So we said last time that our next topic was going to be game studios and whether or not they're actually effective.
Oh yeah, going over like, are large teams actually effective?
Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, I don't even remember what our opinions were, but the opinion was no.
No. I mean, like, why aren't they really viable?
Well, I
You
know
don't
that
make a lot of-
Roblox, personally, what Roblox wants right now is big teams, like 10 people minimum. And that's, honest to God, unrealistic on the platform right now. Like, I don't know.
You can't
how
support a team. Like,
Yeah.
some people would have to be like charity work.
Yeah, monetization-wise, yeah. Because, I mean, it wouldn't be it depends. Nobody, if you split it perfectly 10 ways, then yeah, it'd be pretty shit.
Well, no one would really be making anything.
I don't even know if there's like,
Depending on how much the game makes, I suppose.
Ha-
I mean, if the game is like, what's it called? Welcome to Bloxburg, then it would be making probably enough to split 10 ways. At least I
Yeah.
would think.
yeah, that would be fine. But what I'm trying to say is like, you can't even make a game big enough that justifies having 10 people and not have
That's
it
true
be
as
super
well.
laggy. I mean, you can make it, but it will be garbage, like laggy garbage, because there'd be so much in it. I mean, there's a possibility to make things lag free. I mean, Visteria does a great job of being optimized. I don't know how big their team is, but I know that their game doesn't lag. But they also use universes, so whatever you want to say there. But
Universe are pretty
so-
good for cutting up the lag.
But your average person still isn't going to be able to make a game that is optimized enough where it becomes effective to use giant teams. And then also, and I guess servers won't even be able to run it, is what I really mean. And Team Create will work fine, but having that many people working on things at the same time could, without a good team lead, it'll get kind of screwed up, you
That
know?
would be problematic, yeah.
And I had one other point about this. Something about Team Create or Studio or something. I don't know. Too much collision of interest, I don't know.
It's just not possible to stay it won't be sustainable, basically.
Yeah. But this all ties into the fact that they wanted big, like the team. We noticed the people that want bigger DevX are the big teams, or not necessarily. But if you pay attention on Twitter, Bereza is leader of Hysteria, and he's leading the whole front on, or at least for a while he was the whole front on more DevX, and he has a big team.
Yeah, because he actually, well, when you have a larger team, you have to make more off of the DevX, or else
Yeah,
the time is not worth it. But when
But-
you have like a small team, like Rogue's kind of a small team. At least the people who
Rogue
like,
is
get
pretty
paid.
big. It's a good sized team. It's what a realistically sized team should be.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how many. What you said? Archaic said 3 is like the best amount of scripters he can work at with 3.
yeah. I feel like if you have any more 3, people just get in each other's way.
I feel like more than 2 people get in each other's way. I don't know. I like 2 scripters. I think that's probably the best way to do
I
it.
mean, you have one main systems guy and then one main content guy, but you can do 2 content guys.
You know what the other thing is? I know what Roblox wants for team says is they want like more specialized roles, which is kind of like stupid. Like they want people that only focus on like art, and so for building, sure that's fine, but like just decals and stuff, like
And there's also people who only do animations, and I've had people
Yeah.
approach me saying they want to do animations purely for my game, and I decline them every time because even if my animations aren't as good as theirs, it's like it's not worth just hiring a solo person who only does animations with no other skills.
yeah, I'd say it's exactly, pretty much exactly. Like no point in hiring someone that only does like one thing.
I think
It just isn't effective. Even if you had 10 people, it'd be such a waste of time. Because you know what's happening with those big studios that everyone's starting up, like Visteria and what's the other, Red Manta, is they hire people who for specialized tasks, but because they're offering a certain amount of money, like 5,000 a month to work for us, now they have to pay a guy that all he does is animations 5,000 a month, and that's just a net loss at that point.
Well, Snick, I think we're kind of anomalies in that department. People actually do hire animators all the time. We're kind of the people that just tend to not hire animators.
Yeah, well, I don't really... The only time I'd ever hire an animator is if I had a game with such complex rigs that it needed someone with a special touch. But this is Roblox, so...
The rigs generally aren't that complex.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were making a mech game, but even then, you figure when you're the scripter and you're making like the combat that goes into those, you need to know how long each animation is. Like, it's important for the scripter to be able to animate their stuff.
That's true. That's also really true. The animator has to stay consistent. Yeah, animation's a good example. I think artist is definitely like a stupid one. I mean, I couldn't imagine paying someone 5,000.
I mean, like initially I hired art to only do the art because usually artists can do UI and things like that.
Yeah, but for an even split, I'm talking about.
Oh, even split, definitely not.
Like, okay, so we're going to the internship, and sometimes people want to apply as just like that, like just an artist person. And what they did in the past, in the past, what's happened with that is they get in, but because they don't have enough work, they work for like every team or like everybody there instead of just who they came with. At least that's what I've heard.
Do they do that with builders as well?
People have, but it doesn't happen anymore. It's just what I heard used to happen, which is an effective way of using it. I mean, if you're running like multiple game studios or working on multiple projects with enough, that's a way to do it. That's a way to have big teams. If you're working on multiple games, then you can have one artist and 2 separate games, and then probably balance out a lot better.
Yeah, but usually people are only working on like one game at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Recently Sharksy I saw was talking about how like I don't know, people on Roblox tend to they're not able to replicate their success. Like they can make one good game and they don't make multiple, showing that like I guess we don't have a total understanding of what works. At least that was the point he was getting at, is that no one really understands like what works because they can't do it every time. I'm not sure if I agree with that point, but that's what he was getting at.
So you mean like what happens with what works with a game?
Yeah, basically what games work, what games don't. He was saying if you can't replicate your success a second time, then you don't know if it works or not.
Depending on the type of game, I'd say for sure, but like I'm pretty confident I could replicate Final Stand and just change it to Bleach and it'd probably be pretty successful, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, but I could.
Wink.
But that's only with games that we make where they're like RPGs or like I guess progression based games that have like combat. I don't know what to call the kind of games we make.
Action RPGs probably.
Yeah, just action games in general. But I mean, if maybe you consider something like those Adopt Me games, like how would you can't replicate that. I mean, you could, but it won't be as successful. Like it just won't.
Without it, or it would be the same game over again.
Yeah, and because it is the same, no one would play it, and so you can replicate successful ideas, but they won't be successful because if something's already taking over that spot, no one would want to play it. The only thing with Bleach works in my example is because Bleach is a totally different anime and has a totally different, group of friends or not friends, group of fans and stuff. And yeah, progression too.
The progression is different.
But, yeah.
That's why it works with like different anime games.
Yeah. And there are some things that we know for a fact, work better and make games successful. I'm not super popular, but
as we've gotten better.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like as a whole, like every developer, like if they take the time to look it up, there's tons of like information online of how to make something most appealing. Like having good introductions and stuff like that. Yeah. But okay.
The main market appeal is having games that like people can understand and get into right away. But you can also go the direct opposite route and make games that like like Rogue Lineage is not conventional game design. Like conventional game design would say Rogue Lineage is not a good game because it tells you nothing. It throws you in with like basically the controls, and that's about it. And just expects you to figure it all out, which turns a lot of people away. And I think there's a market for that, though. There's people who like enjoy this kinds of game. I myself included.
Yeah, people don't like handholding. Sure.
But most people want to be told how to play a game, or at least that's what the front page will tell you.
Well, I mean, it's children as well, you know.
That's true.
Personally, I'm good with knowing the controls, and if there's systems in the game that are like important, like how like a block meter works or something like that, that I'd like to be introduced to. But besides controls and like specific combat oriented or like important systems that you need to be aware of, then I don't really care.
Yeah.
I like everything else can be blind. Too long for tutorials, bad.
I think too long of tutorials definitely like kill a game.
They kill a lot of games.
If you can't jump into a game immediately and have some fun, then like the game probably
surprisingly
isn't fun.
There was a game on a front page, I don't know, a week ago. It's probably still there, but it's not as many players. It's like a Raise a Dragon game, and their tutorial was like 15 minutes long, and I was impressed. First of how long it was, and second that it had so many players with that tutorial. So I'm surprised not many people gave up on it.
I think a lot of kids tend to play through tutorials. They expect them. I've had a lot of people ask for
I've always
rogue
thought
tutorials.
To not do a tutorial. I thought kids hated tutorial. In my mindset, kids hate tutorials.
I think it's just that we hate tutorials.
Well, it depends on how young the kid is, I guess, and how interested they are in the game. Like, if they're not interested in the game, they're only playing it to see, oh, what's this? Then they're not going to like the tutorial, because no one would. But if they're, like, really hyped for a game, like, oh, yeah, I want to play this new game, then, yeah, I'll do with the tutorial, because I want to play the game to its fullest. But I'm just saying people that see the game and want to try it, they don't want a tutorial. They just want to, I don't know. That's why if you can, everyone knows that if you can integrate tutorials, real quick. You gotta figure out which games have tutorials.
Yeah, I'm gonna see.
Beast Swarm Simulator is like a good tutorial because you like actually are playing the game while you're learning the tutorial.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we got.
Jailbreak doesn't have much of a tutorial, does it? You just kind of get dropped into a jail.
No, but the thing is, everyone already knows about Jailbreak at this point, and so the majority of players there's already like.
Raguza, I don't think that has one as well.
No, it doesn't. But Jailbreak has some interesting things because when you first join and you pick a team, your own knowledge of what those teams are called give you context. Like, oh, if you're a cop, obviously you're going to be stopping criminals, the other team. And if you're a criminal, well, then you're going to be breaking out of prison because the name's called Jailbreak. And so you already have an objective built in your mind.
That's true.
And not to mention, so many games at this point, YouTubers pretty much act as tutorials for so many games.
Yeah, YouTubers actually play a big role in like discovering a lot of secrets of games.
Yeah, and that was part of our next topic anyways. We're going to talk about
YouTubers.
Well, I want to talk about not YouTubers. I want to talk about Dan's video.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Dan QX, everybody. I don't know why I wanted to talk about it. I mean, there's not much to talk about it. I mean, Dan's right 100%.
The people who make like the videos about codes and shit.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I personally just hate codes.
Apparently,
that's why I like Dan.
The YouTubers were pretty upset about Dan's video.
Really?
From what I heard, they all got in a call together and started arguing.
They're not. Why can't they just accept it? It's not like it's wrong. I mean, I don't care that they do it.
I don't care either.
Dan thinks it's malicious. I think it's a little malicious. I don't think it's terrible.
I mean, Dan didn't even take any hard shots. He was just like, yeah, oh, this is bad, but. I mean, he even said, like, some people weren't that guilty of it. Like, they only did a couple. And I think, maybe I'm misrepresenting it, but I think he said, like, doing it sometimes wasn't, like, the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, well, he really cares about more or less...
I think he's more on the ethics of it, though.
He likes it when... He doesn't mind... I don't even know. What is it? It's like... The point he makes is code deals, or pretty much just deals between developers and YouTubers in general. I don't really like that. I kind of think it's immoral, actually. But it's not. It doesn't really hurt anyone other than maybe people's wallets. Maybe.
I think that's what he's. But Dan seems to have a big thing on developers like stealing from kids and abusing them.
Yeah, and he should.
Yeah.
It's right. But codes, and he mentioned spins a lot. Codes that give you spins.
Those are pretty.
How's that? But how? Because you're not paying anything.
Okay, so
Anything's
here's the
free.
problem with here's the whole.
I mean, the fact
like,
is, yeah, you want to spend money to do it and get it real.
Well, no, that's
Maybe
the whole
with
thing. That's the whole thing. So codes, for one, they like set up. They just like YouTubers are then helping the developer like get away with what they're doing,
Okay.
which is what Dan's getting at. And the problem with like codes in general or spinning is whenever one of the YouTubers like gives out those codes and then the kid goes and uses it.
Yeah.
Whenever the kid goes and uses the code, and he runs out of spins or whatever, then he feels more compelled to like spend money now and get those spins.
I guess that's well, not more that he's more compelled, but Dan made a good point of like you, especially in certain games where you can see what you could have gotten instead, and that's what motivates them to pay. Is because now they see all the options almost.
I think spin systems are kind of interesting. I think there's ethical ways to do them and unethical ways.
Is.
But here's I think like the main reason like you would want to use a spin system is if you want to have some things be rare. Because like I've looked at loot boxes like Rainbow Six Siege and stuff, and like they don't give duplicates in their loot boxes. Like if you let's say there's 50 items in like a loot box season or whatever. If you pay 50 times, you'll get all 50 items. Obviously, that's expensive, and you may not get what you want initially.
I think that's a much more fair system.
For sure.
Because I think it becomes immoral at the point where you spend more on something than it's worth. Yeah. But besides, back to the whole thing, like, codes by themselves aren't bad, though. I mean, if you get codes to get something else in a game, is that terrible? I don't think so.
I don't think codes themselves are terrible. I think he was
only
getting out more for the
it's
spins.
only connected to spins.
Yeah, I think it's the spins that are the main issue. But also, when you make your content based around the code and that people are only watching for that, I think Dan has a problem with that too.
Yeah, but what else are they supposed to do? I mean, I can't really blame them for pandering to try and get as many views as possible. That's how they make money.
You got to make the clickbait titles like Kenpachi versus
together. It's very toxic. It's when it's connected to spins. However, if codes were connected to something that weren't spins or weren't random and weren't gambling, and they were just like, oh, here's the YouTuber's code that gives me this cosmetic that I want or in-game money that isn't like abusive, well then people would still come to the videos, but it wouldn't really be harming anyone then.
Yeah, as long as it's not for spins, I feel like it's a little better. Spins in general.
The mutual benefit from YouTubers and game developers, what it should be is developers get players and YouTubers get viewers.
Yeah, that's kind of the mutual benefit.
It should not be developers get money, YouTubers get money. And I don't think there should ever be any instance of developers like making contract deals with YouTubers.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Especially
is that
with
going
money
on?
Involved. What?
Is that going on? Like,
I don't know.
People make contract deals?
I have no idea. I hope not. Like, I hope people aren't like paying money to. I know it happen. No. I know it does happen. Not in our community, or if it does, I'm not aware of it. But in like other games, like I've been told that like I can give like 30k Robux to this YouTuber and then or some amount of money or even in Robux or money, I don't know, and then they can make a video on the game as long as I do that, as long as we give them a code. So it's like I don't like when money's involved when you're making deals with YouTubers.
Yeah, I don't like when money's involved. What was I gonna say? It was about I think kind of being connected with YouTubers in your community isn't a bad thing. Like whenever someone makes
it's
a rogue
great
video,
way to connect. It's a great way to connect to your player base, especially in a longer way.
We put like rogue videos in the rogue thing, and like obviously like I know some of them personally, like Infernasu, Riavolu.
That's what I'm saying. The mutual benefit should be views and players. And money is obviously something that comes out of views, and money is something that comes out of players.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be direct. It shouldn't be money for money.
It shouldn't be money for
views.
It shouldn't be money for YouTuber to like make videos on it.
That definitely should not be that. No.
That's kind of gross.
But I know it happens with the much bigger YouTubers, like real big YouTubers, like way bigger one. Not like Flamingo, but like the big ones that are for children. Yeah. That happens. I know.
One that Dan was talking about like systems he doesn't like for roles, and he was saying he didn't like the Caribou system. I don't really know much about their spin system other than it does look like a giant spin wheel. I'm not good. I like mentally retarded. So when I tried their game and tried to figure out how the wheel worked, I just couldn't do it. So I just don't know anything about it.
but I've used it. I think the point I think Dan was making, and if not, this is the point I'd make, is that on the wheel that they gave, it showed like what you just missed, and that's what causes the reaction of
Yikes.
I can get that if I because it shows everything. 'Cause it's actually a wheel.
Okay,
But yeah, that's why Dan didn't like that one,
I see.
and also because that's a relevant one because that's like the newest anime
newest one coming
game
out.
with all the anime YouTubers.
Oh, they made a comment on Dan's video about how they were gonna stop doing things like that, and then they just released it. Care Bros. If you go look at his, he did a video on like bad monetization schemes or whatever. And
it's not the one we're talking about. It's a different video.
It's an earlier video, just recent. It was a little, like probably like a month and a half ago, maybe two. But the Care Bros like put a comment on it saying, "Yeah, we're gonna stop doing things like that." And then they went and released Shinobi Origin, and it kind of just has it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like. Well, it depends what you spend for. Obviously, spending for cosmetics is my favorite. And the weird thing is like these games that really have the spinning issue is that you need to spin to like play the game in the best way possible. And also, the first thing you do when you join the game is spin. Like, I wish I could play like a superpower game where I spawned in with a random superpower, but I didn't have to spin for it before I got it. And if I wanted to go spin for it, then I could. But I don't want to be presented with the spin first thing.
The first thing. Yeah, you just spawn with a random one, then afterwards you can go spin. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Actually, one more touch on Shinobi Origin. When I did play the game a little, and I felt like whatever you spun wasn't that important anyways.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe. I never got into like the deep meta game of
I never looked.
Yeah, all I know is like I spawned with something, I didn't roll for anything else, and I played the game for like 30 minutes.
I don't even know what you can spin for in that game. I know you can spin for chakra natures, but I've seen their tree, like their chakra tree, and it's really big, so it's not like you're losing out that way. Yeah, I think it's definitely Keki Genkai, but I don't know like how that works because whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Is there anything else going on with YouTube? Oh, actually, this is just a small thing. Like YouTubers popping up with new games, like building their community around like a set game. Because like I have a couple people in Rogue that like only make Rogue Lineage videos, like Faceless Man Ruin, Rievolu, Dumb Storms. Probably missing some, but they like make pure Rogue videos. And
no, I mean
I've actually found they're a good group of people to get like criticism from because. Obviously, all of their content is based off my game, so
they're dedicated.
They really care about it.
Yeah, no, that's always happened. I mean, there's people that still make videos on only Final Stand, which is great. They have good input a lot. I don't reach out to them, but I always watch their videos and stuff. Yeah. And then obviously there's people that do pop up with it. I mean, shoot, I think Infernasu's first set of good videos was NO2, wasn't it?
I think that's what kind of kicked him
off. I thought that's
off.
How he started him. Yeah.
I believe so.
And then after that, he went to Rogue, and it's like, okay. And now he does other stuff,
He does
too.
everything.
So it's,
he does like Lumion Legacy, because...
I think he likes it.
He seems he plays games he likes.
Well, he loved Brick Bronze, or at least that's what he said in the call the other day. Yeah. So, I mean, that's not anything different. I don't know any, like... I don't know anything... I don't watch Rogue YouTube videos, obviously, because I don't play the game. I'd be interested to know in the future if there's a person that started with only Rogue videos that eventually expands and gets big as well. That'd be very interesting.
Most of the Rogue videos, like, they just try to do interesting things. I haven't seen, like, a lot of showcases. I've seen, like, 1 versus 6 house fights, or, like, they try to do, like, crazy stuff. There's this one guy who, like, makes videos where he solo progresses through each class.
Do you guys have a wiki yet? There's
I don't think there... Well, there might be... So there's probably a fan wiki out there.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like, there's a fan wiki for Final Stand, and honestly, I read it sometimes because I just think it's like interesting.
Yeah,
it's just so interesting to see what people have discovered and stuff like that.
They put it up there, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's wrong too, but it's not maliciously wrong. It's not like gonna fuck people up. But sometimes they just and then there's also a lot of the times they find great enjoyment in pointing out very small inconsistencies, and I just think that's hilarious.
Oh, dude, I had back at the beginning of Rogue, there was like a hint from this one NPC that told you where a trainer was, and then I randomly moved the trainer at some point, and they pointed out to me that the hint was wrong. Shit. Yeah, I was like, oh, fuck.
Man.
And YouTube stuff. Is there anything else going on in the YouTube community?
I don't know, but I'm just talking about community. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It can be anything on Roblox. Anything else? UGC is popping off again.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've been
Dyesoft
keeping
has
up with
made like a
that.
ton of hats. At least
I've
person I follow the most on it.
if you're on Twitter, you see tons of people uploading showcases because they want to get into it. There's tons of people that are in it, and there's there's a lot of drama about it too because some people don't like the hats that are uploaded. Like there's one guy that right after we uploaded the videos, we can talk about it. This guy made a hat that looks like in the thumbnail looks nothing like it, but people compare it to the classic fedora. And when you look at the classic fedora and you look at this hat, they look nothing alike. But when you wear the hats, they look almost identical.
Oh.
And that caught me because I'm like, oh, these look nothing alike. I mean, why is everyone complaining? And then I put the hats on. I'm like, oh shit, this looks just like it. And that's like one thing. And the guy claims, he didn't mean to do that on purpose. I don't know if it's true or not. Who knows?
Yeah, but
and also he's the same guy that gets a lot of hate.
Dominus retextures.
Well, they don't accept that.
Oh, okay.
There's been a lot of fun ones, and I see a lot of fun ones coming out. Yeah. I'm gonna see if there's any new ones right now. Community creations. Oh, it doesn't work on mobile, by the way. I don't know why they added why it's broken on mobile, but it is. All right, we got. Let's see if there's. I don't know how they upload. Okay, so the most recent ones. Oh yeah, there's like the modern art one. That's my favorite. It's like a fucked up face on a box. Oh, the typical tycoonist. The typical Texan tycoonist, which is like the Doug Dimmadome hat. There's some drama behind that because the person that uploaded it, Roblox forced them to re-upload it because the hat was too tall. I have yet to look at a difference between the old and new versions.
I think the Dimmadome one was like really, really, really tall.
So far, that's the only, to my knowledge, change that's been forced.
Actually, something I wanted to talk about was having multiple games running at the same time, by one person, obviously. How does that? I don't know. How do you find time to update multiple games? Because obviously,
I don't. Of course, I don't. Everyone hates me for it too. No, most of the time I choose not to. I don't know. I just dropped my phone, but it's okay. I mean, I plan it out, honestly. I write big lists of what each game has to be done, and then I'll do that whole list when I'm ready to work. And then that'll finish one game, and then I'll go to the next one and start working on that. And when I have it all ready, I'll publish it. So a lot of times people think my games that I haven't updated are like I've abandoned them. And there has been like maybe 2 games I've abandoned that are still like live and shouldn't have been, but there are 2. But you can see on my profile which ones I'm still working on. And that means at least I have planned updates for them. And I'm working on updates for them. So even though I haven't published them yet, there's still stuff I've added that just hasn't been pushed out yet. So yeah, it's not that hard. I feel like
it's hard to find the time, especially. Well, I mean, you do Roblox development full time, like that's your job. Yeah. But for people who like go to college, work a second job.
No, well, I wouldn't be able to do it.
I feel like that'd be impossible.
You got it full time. It's no problem. But yeah, depends how many games too, and how often they need new content. Or how often you decide to give them new content. But it's really not that bad. It just creates burnout if you do too many at once.
A point on that I can follow up on. When you make updates that make people unhappy, or change the way, I don't know, they think the game should be, and they say you, don't care what they think. You've already expressed in your bio or whatever that you make updates and make your games the way you want them because that's how you want them to be. And I think people... They tend to think that, I don't know. I wonder they want influence over the game or the way they want it to be.
Hopefully, I mean, I do always look for fan input when I'm deciding on updates. That's not really what my bio is about. Where I get so many comments about it too, about how I say I make games for me, not for my fans. A lot of hate from that, but I don't care because let me describe in more words. It's more like I only make what I enjoy making. I don't want to ever make games that I don't enjoy working on.
Yeah.
And if I did what every fan wanted me to do and worked on games as often as fans wanted me to, then I wouldn't be enjoying it. And I'd probably just quit at that point. So that's what the whole statement is about, is I'm doing it for my own gain, my own personal enjoyment, not because everyone's asking me to.
Yeah, a lot of rogue players get mad when I nerf certain things, but I don't know. Actually, there's sometimes I make nerfs and it makes like half the community happy, half the community upset, but I tend to chalk that up to like some people are abusing certain things and they don't want it to change. And then like some people are just happy it's not being abused anymore.
Well, of course, no one's going to want to be nerfed.
Yeah, well, that's hard because sometimes things do need nerfs, but preferably it's better to like try and buff things around it.
Yeah, it is. It's always better to buff things, but
It's not
sometimes
always,
it's just difficult.
Sometimes I think a nerf is justified when it gets so out of scope that like
Yeah.
if you buffed everything else, then it would make
Yeah.
other things out of balance as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Game balance. Game balance is tough, especially when a game's been running for a long time,
Yeah, it really is.
because power
Game
creep
balance.
starts to set in. You want to talk about
Yeah,
power
very-
creep?
Power creep, yeah.
Because I think that's
Power
prevalent
creep's-
even in community games and every game really. Actually, let's go over power
It
creep.
doesn't have to be.
Let's go over
But
power,
okay.
power creep and specs. And specs I
Specs.
bring up because they're very much hated by everybody.
Yeah.
Whether they be developer specs or like specs given out to like special roles like Kage's or Bakatsuki in terms of an Naruto
I wouldn't
game.
say they're hated by everyone.
They're not hated by the people using them or the people benefiting from
No.
them.
Yeah, well, in NO2, like all the Kages that had.
Well, everyone
Like
hated
specs.
Kage's.
Everyone hated each other's villages' Kages, but they didn't hate their own Kage because he helped them. I think it balanced out fine there.
I don't think it does there. I think that's where at least with... I think you can have them more powerful to a certain extent, but when you give them, like, awakenings, which is what they had in NO2, it brings them to a level beyond everything. Like,
That's Ethan's fault.
that is Ethan's fault. Fuck you, Ethan. Yeah,
That's power creep right there.
that is power creep, because they were trying to contend with Akatsuki.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I'm not worried about that anymore. It doesn't exist anymore, so I don't really care.
Well, how do you
But
feel about dev specs in games?
I don't like the way you and Archaic do it at all, man. Shit.
What do
You
you
guys
mean?
work on your... You guys... Archaic's been working on his specs the second you guys started your new game.
I only have like one spec. It's a fucking... oh yeah, I have reskinned spells and like...
Yeah, well, Ark's
a
made
fucking
himself a full
beam.
suit of armor and shit. Like,
Oh yeah, like... I think Ark cares about specs more. I don't know. My whole opinion on specs since like Rogue got more and more popular is if I'm spending time working on my own abilities, then I'm like wasting time that could be used for working on things for like players to enjoy. Because players will never get to enjoy my specs,
that's
and I
true.
don't enjoy like dicking on my players like some of my devs do. Par.
my only issue with my only issue with dev specs is when the developers actually play the game, then it becomes a problem. And
Because they
example,
ruin
Par, yeah,
people's progression.
Yeah, and it's just unfair. It's like when you
Like-
guys play as characters that are like supposed to be. You can make specs as long as the specs are for characters and the character role is supposed to be outside of the player's interaction. If you make specs for a character that's supposed to be inside player's interaction, like it's just an edge lord character that is a normal character that's fight everyone else, then it becomes broken.
Well, I found a good way to balance it, which was the recent thing we implemented was like, alright, Par, you're allowed to kill people, but when you kill people, it doesn't do anything to them. Like, it doesn't hurt their progression. That way he just acts as like a boss fight or something that they can encounter. I think that's a good way to do it. If you're going to make someone overpowered in essentially a boss fight, you got to make it so, like, when they kill people or do something to them, it doesn't hurt their progression.
Yeah, I don't really like specs that much anymore. I don't know.
Did you like them more in the past?
I mean, the only time I've ever enjoyed specs was in O2 with the constants that made sense.
I liked OPOs.
Kage,
Well, like Devil Fruits.
OPO didn't really have
Devil
Devil
Fruits
really
were kind of
specs.
specs. I mean,
I would say no.
I mean, they were better than everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
you Dragonfight
but they
23 pulls up with Light and just stomps a server. And it didn't seem to matter as much back then either, it feels like.
Yeah.
It was just the way things were. But nowadays, when specs are there, everybody gets very upset.
I feel like, in my opinion, Devil Fruits weren't specs because they weren't designed for some person. I feel like it becomes a spec when it's designed for someone.
You think so?
Yeah. If it's just designed as something that's cool and then someone ends up getting it, then I think it's alright.
I think it becomes a spec when only one person has access to it.
Yeah. I don't. I just. Yeah, technically, but I don't think it becomes toxic unless it. Because when it's made for a specific person, then it's like, oh well, the developer obviously gave it just to that person because it's for them and they're favoriting them. You know. But if devil fruits were random, then
That's true.
it doesn't really matter because it's like, okay, well then I would have had a chance. Yeah.
I had a chance.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not making specs for anything in the future, to my knowledge. So. I mean, not real specs. So.
I think. I don't know. I feel like it's when you own games that you don't like specs as much because. Obviously, when I worked on like NO2, I had an interest in specs and having my Kage specs, but now that I own my own game, I don't really have an interest in them. Like, I don't have an interest in making my own, because, like I said, it's a waste of time, it feels like.
Yep.
But I feel like when you work on someone else's game, and you're just, like making things for the game, making your own specs is just, like, fun at that point. I don't know, because, like, Par likes making his own specs a lot.
I don't enjoy it. Sometimes I do. When it's cool, yeah. When it's not cool and it's just meant to kill people, no.
Well, the only what did I do? I did something. Oh yeah, there was like there was a big battle with me and Malkavian and Rogue, and that was cool. And all I did was like reskin some spells and make them like bigger and grander and stronger, and that was actually kind of cool because it was just supposed to be for that like one boss fight. But I wouldn't like use that normally because it's just overkill, it feels like. Also, it's kind of hard to play your own game sometimes because everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, that's true. Alright, we're at the time limit.
Alright, catch us next time on Snake and the Goozer.
No.
Bye.
Okay. I'm not going to get up because I'm leaning back.